in my opinion, theory and practice go hand in hand.
If we come to the junior batch, right now they are straight out of the JEE mindset.
If you are lacking theory, your practice will reach a saturation point.
If you are not prepared to collaborate and work with others, it becomes very difficult.
We have always been taught to think with a finite mindset.
Hello everyone, I am Nirjara Mehta, a BTech second year electrical engineering student, and in today's episode of Sunday Spotlight, we have with us Professor Himanshu Shekhar, Assistant Professor in the Department of Electrical Engineering as well as the Principal Investigator at the MUSE Lab, that is the Medical Ultrasound Engineering Lab at IIT Gandhinagar. Now, as the topic of MUSE Lab has come up, would you like to share some information about the work done in the MUSE Lab and how did it come into being?
Sure. Thanks first of all for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. So MUSE stands for the Medical Ultrasound Engineering Lab. It's a biomedical engineering focused lab, and we do a lot of work in translating technologies from the lab to the clinic. The main emphasis is on ultrasound. Ultrasound is a really interesting technology because we just think about ultrasound as a modality used for fetal imaging, but ultrasound is now being used both as a diagnostic modality as well as a therapeutic modality for a large number of applications, and its use is just growing by the day. So the lab came about because my training and the training of Professor Himanshu Shekhar is in ultrasound, and we had complementary skills. So we were excited to come back to India and apply it here because of all modalities, ultrasound is probably the most accessible and most easily scalable in India, and moreover it's also very safe and non-invasive modality. So that was the idea, and we wanted to have a very translationally focused lab where we begin with the end in mind. So typically as academic researchers, we are always accused of doing this, where we do something in our lab and we hope that one day it will be picked up by someone and taken up. But here we try to begin with the end in mind. We start with the clinical context. We talk to clinicians about the clinical needs, and that's how we develop our technologies. So we have been able to develop a vibrant group of students, researchers, and we have spent about 5 years working on various interesting projects, and it has been an exciting ride.
Definitely, it was really new to know about this application of ultrasound. We were never aware about this, and we also recently came to know that you visited the Gujarat Science Cancer Research Center. So can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, so I just visited today, and we are trying to set up a collaboration where we are trying to use ultrasound to detect tumors early. So the earlier you can detect the tumors, the easier it is and the better the patient outcomes are. So the challenge with traditional ultrasound is that it is sometimes not very sensitive and specific in certain applications for a variety of tumors. So we have some advanced ultrasound image reconstruction techniques and some advanced analyzing techniques through which we hope to improve the sensitivity and specificity, and we try to extend the use of ultrasound beyond what is being used today. So what's interesting about our work is that we work up the signal chain, meaning that we don't work with ultrasound images as much, but we work with the signal that is gathered before the image is found. So in that sense, what we are doing is a bit different, and we had a nice conversation with the clinicians there, and there's definitely an unmet clinical need. So we're just discussing opportunities moving forward.
This is definitely giving us a lot of information about your field of work. But let us get back to the academic culture of our college. We were really lucky to have you as our mentor in our first hands-on practical engineering experience, the course World of Engineering. It was a really fruitful course when it came to practical application of all the knowledge that we had just as a first semester students. Can you tell us how IIT Gandhinagar stands by the culture of practical knowledge over theoretical knowledge, and is this objective attained through specific courses like World of Engineering that do expect a certain amount of practical work from the students?
Right. So in my opinion, theory and practice go hand in hand because theory informs practice, and then it's almost like a feedback loop, right? So if you are lacking theory, your practice will reach a saturation point, right? So if you take an analogy of learning a musical instrument, yes, you can pick up a musical instrument and play by feel as such, but unless you understand the theory of music, you can only reach a certain level. And on the other hand, if I am a music teacher and I'm trying to teach a student about music, but I don't give them an instrument, and I come show up every day with pen and paper and I make them like learn about scales, etc., and the theory of music, probably they'll lose interest very soon. So there has to be a balance. In India, typically technical education has been very rigorous, so that is good. There is a strong theoretical foundation, but what is often lacking is that practical insight, and often it is assumed that, look, here is the theory, learn it, and one day it will become useful. But if we motivate the students by showing where this theory is needed, how it is applicable, probably there will be more buy-in, because nowadays the students have many other options. There are so many things to learn. So unless we motivate why something is important, unless we show the practical applications, and unless we also get them excited, it is hard to keep them focused. So that's where I see that if we combine in instruction both theory and practice, then it goes a long way. So in IIT Gandhinagar, we try to emphasize this. We try to match the interest of the student. We try to provide options in terms of course selection, electives, majors, minors, etc. And when we were reviewing the curriculum, it was thought that this kind of a course is actually necessary. And as you are probably aware, Professor Udit Bhatia taught the course before me, and he kind of set the model for the course, which I followed and tried to put my own input into it. So on the whole, I would say this is very successful. And apart from this, other courses such as our workshop practice course, which used to be the traditional old course, now replaced with the design, innovation, prototyping. I think these kind of courses will really help students as they move forward in their career.
Yes, definitely, because the way you pointed out that the balance between the theoretical and practical knowledge, it is very, very necessary, because none of them can stand independently. And now that the design course has been shifted to first year, the first semester, probably students will be having more knowledge of how to use the facilities that are available, and then have a chance to implement all of that in the world of engineering course, which would consequently give a better prototype and a better solution to the problem statements they use. So now if we come to the junior batch, which is now going to come to the campus, before they come to the college, they would probably have gained a lot of theoretical knowledge, but would have had no practical experience, and right now they are straight out of the JEE mindset, and they have led a very monotonous life. When they come to an entirely new atmosphere, they would face several problems, may it be homesickness, may it be adjusting into the new lifestyle. We have seen several examples of our friend who took a lot of time to adjust into this new life, and henceforth could not capture all the opportunities that are provided by the campus. So how would you guide these students on dealing with these issues?
Right. So this is a big challenge which we have all experienced, is because we have always been taught to think with the finite mindset. So if you follow Simon Sinek, the author, he talks about finite games and infinite games. And in finite games, it's like a fixed timeline, the rules are fixed. But typically we are playing infinite games because we are talking long term, not short term. So traditionally we have always been taught to think about short term goals, like for example, do well in 10th and live happily ever after, do well in 12th, get into engineering or get a job, get married, etc., and live happily ever after. But that doesn't really happen. So at each stage in life, you will get some new challenges, some new experiences, and typically I would say that it gets harder as you progress, right? So, but at the same time, it gets more exciting, and your ability to make an impact in the environment also grows with your career, right? So if you keep that in mind, and also keep that in mind that it's not always necessary to win. Like I'll give you an example. So recently Roger Federer gave a commencement speech at Dartmouth College in the US, and there he gave a very startling statistic that in his games, in his professional games, there are points and then there are matches. So you win a point, you win a match, right? So he won about 80% of his matches, and that is very, that's obvious because he was on top of his game. But he won only 54% of points he won. only 54%. So you can think like someone like Federer, only won 54% of points in his career, right? And if you think of maybe a lower player, probably, right? Probably the percentage would be closer to 50. So what I'm trying to say here is that you should not feel that each and every failure, right, is a dead end. Right? There are always ways by which you can come back. When one road closes, another one opens, and there should be some surprise in life, right? Like if we keep our mind very closed, right? Like typically people come with a very fixed idea of what they want to do, right? And they believe that this is it or nothing else. And there's also, unfortunately, there's a lot of peer pressure as well, and that is partly a result of social media. There are many other positives, but this is a big negative, where there's a strong peer pressure. So whenever you have a certain failure, and I wouldn't even say failure, right? If something doesn't go according to plan, then students feel that this is a dead end, and that kind of disappoints them. I would like to suggest to the students that you are very early in your career and you have a long way to go. There is a fascination with early achievement in our society, right? Like everywhere you will hear that, okay, in every family there is a kid who kind of masters math at like a very young age, and there's a toddler who knows multiplication tables up to 30. But how are we capitalizing on this potential? You know, if you look at, are we producing top-notch mathematicians from our society? So the point I'm trying to make is that you have a long and distinguished career potentially. So don't be too fascinated with this early achievement. Try to know things well, better. Try to be open. Find areas where you can make an impact. Be patient, because if you want to make an impact, it takes a lot of time, right? And make good friends and experience the campus, experience the opportunities. And I think things will sort themselves out, because it's very simple. If you can add value to the environment that you are in, it could be your home, your campus, your office, your career, then you will succeed essentially, right? So I would like to tell the students that just think of this as a next step in your career. This is not the end goal. This is a means to an end. This is not an end in itself. And even if things don't work out, there's always another way. Okay. Also remember that a lot of the advice that you get, including mine, because everyone has their own baggage that they come with. So you have to interpret it in the context of your own life, right? And many times the advice we get from our parents, even our teachers, professors, that is a little dated, right? Because back in the day, people would finish their education early and join a job and then maybe retire after 35 years, right? That doesn't happen anymore. So I also like to give this analogy where you may have seen water dripping from a tap, and first the flow is very nice and regular, and then beyond a certain distance, the flow becomes turbulent. So all those laws you have learned, right, for laminar flow doesn't apply to turbulent flow. So my point is that we live in a very turbulent world, but also a very exciting, very happening world. So don't go with advice which is dated. Keep your mind open and always remember that something new can come up which has not happened yet. Like for example, if you look at this AI revolution, these kind of jobs were not available earlier, right? So 20 years back, you couldn't have prepared for this. So certain things happen spontaneously, and students should be prepared for that. At the same time, don't get bogged down too much. There's a lot you can do. There's a long career you're going to have. There are many times where you can pivot and change tracks. So don't be too intimidated. Just take this as an experience. Learn to collaborate. So this is one thing I would like to heavily emphasize. When I was younger, there used to be this commercial for a cell phone company, and it used to go like, "You and I in this beautiful world," right? That was the song. And I think it's a wonderful thing not to go against the world, because if you feel like I want to compete against the world, there's only so much you can do, because you as an individual, despite your wonderful talents, are limited. But think about what you can do with all these resources in the world, with all the people there with whom you can collaborate. move forward, make an impact. So together we can do so much. So competition as a way of raising your level is a good thing, I feel. But collaboration moving forward is going to be the key. So don't worry too much and come out of this JEE mindset, because it's a what you call zero-sum game, right? In JEE, it's like, okay, if someone else qualifies, then you have one less seat to kind of make it. But here, it's not a zero-sum game. We can all kind of work together and do something better for ourselves. So.
Yeah, definitely. I really loved how you brought up the point that life is not a plan. You have to be prepared to face whatever life gives to you and make the best out of it. And when you pointed out the thing about learning to collaborate, I think that is one of the most important things when it comes to living in a corporate world as well, living your academic life or living your professional life, because without that it becomes no matter how much of skill do you have or how much of knowledge do you have, but if you are not prepared to collaborate and work with others, it becomes very difficult. So as we come towards this topic of holistic development, I think the foundation program at IIT Gandhinagar does an excellent job in getting the people out of that JEE mindset and working on themselves and their personality. And I think we have been doing this for a very long time now, and this is what separates us from a lot of the other technological institutes. So what are your insights on FP?
Yeah, so I was involved in conducting the foundation program for the 2019 batch, and I was new faculty then. I had just joined a few months ago. So for me also it was a great way to experience the ethos of the institute, make new friends, get in touch with the staff and understand how things work in the institute. But beyond that, I feel like the point that is being made through FT is that it's not only about academic achievement alone, right? And even if you were to focus on long-term academic achievement, let's say, right, the way things are achieved is not exactly by peering all the time into books. So let's look at something very academic. So for example, if you want to be a mathematician, right? So the students would think that probably the mathematicians think of a problem or see a problem and then pick up the pen and write the answer after some time. But that's not how mathematicians work. Many times mathematicians get their ideas while jogging or while doing some other activities over time, thinking about a problem over a very long time, right? So what you need is you need creativity. It's not only about applying something that you already know, testing an idea that you already know, right? So creativity will come when you have broader exposure. You need exposure to the arts. You need to be able to work with both the analytical and the creative part of your brain. So that is speaking of academic activities. Now when it comes to non-academic activities, again, sometimes you need to be rational, you need to be analytical to be successful in all that. So that's where the idea of holistic development comes. And I think even more needs to be done. Foundation program is definitely a very good step, but it should not be seen as something that happens in the beginning and then it's done, right? There are many more avenues where the students can actually engage. For example, this, right? If someone would like to spend their time and really understand the perspective of their peers or their faculty and see if some of that applies to them, right? That also leads to development. If someone would like to make use of the excellent sports facilities or the excellent arts facilities, that also leads to development. So what I'm trying to say is that it is absolutely essential, regardless of whatever you choose to do, whether you want to stay in engineering long term, whether you want to switch careers, I think this will help you as you go forward in your career.
Once the FP ends and you are suddenly put once again into the academic life, and it becomes very difficult once again to deal with all the things that come up all of a sudden. So if I talk about this, many people have a question as to how is the life in IITs? Is it just about studies? Is it just about having fun? Because once again the notion that you get into an IIT and you have a set life in front of you. There are multiple notions about this, and which probably as an IITian I feel none of them are very true, because living in an IIT is all about learning how to balance the various aspects of your life, may it be your profession, may it be your hobbies and passion, may it be your personal life. It's just about balancing all of them and juggling together. So with all the extra activities which are happening on the campus, may it be Blitzcron, which is our cultural fest, or TEDx, or Amalthya, the cultural clubs, the very good sports facilities, students have a lot of opportunity to gain interest in multiple fields, but it's also about managing their time and giving a very good amount of time to the studies and the extracurricular activities as well. So what is your opinion on all these activities, and how should a student actually maintain the balance between these things?
Yeah, so the key word here is balance, right? And to maintain balance, the fulcrum, where you would like to shift the fulcrum, I would say would be unique to every individual, right? So first thing is, I would like to say, why do we get interested in certain activities, right? So let us say there are two aspects. One aspect is interest, one aspect is curiosity, and other one is signaling, right? So sometimes we get interested because we are curious about something, we may not have heard about it, we want to check it out. Sometimes there is genuine interest, but what I'm worried about is sometimes there is signaling, in the sense that if you have a sense that if I'm involved in this activity, it will do something for me, or this bullet point in my CV will really add to my career, right? So that is the aspect that is dangerous. If someone feels that by engaging in all activities, I'll boost my CV up and this will really help me. So that doesn't help. What actually helps is genuine interest, curiosity. It's also a lot more fun. And secondly, you have to not bite off more than you can chew. And you are the best judge of that, right? So because they are all related. If you are doing reasonably well in academics, I would say take the middle path. It's okay if you are not necessarily, doing the absolute best in academics and completely losing out on the other activities. So taking the middle path may be okay, in my opinion, personal opinion. But then you have to decide what keeps you happy and what's the right balance. Also, you have to remember that what is it that IITs are known for, right? So IITs are known for their high standards of education, their faculty, their resources, and the vibrant campus. And you ought to be able to take an advantage of these different things, right? If, let's say, you come to an IIT, but you primarily make use of these sports facilities only. I mean, sports is a wonderful thing. It will keep you healthy if you develop these habits. It teaches you about goal setting, bouncing back. So that's wonderful. But if you think that your primary interest is only sports and you are not going to focus on academics at all, then probably an IIT is not the best place for you. You could join a sports university, right? That will probably take you further because you have more free time to focus on your primary interest. But if you want to use sports to inspire yourself, to keep yourself healthy while also doing well in academics, right? Or vice versa, right? Then I think that is a good balance. So another thing is, many a times when we are doing something, we undervalue or overvalue it. Right? Like, for example, you may think that, okay, certain things are not important, academics is not important, I've heard that it's never used in the real world anyway, like these kind of things. Then later you find out, oh, I wish I had paid more attention because this is useful. And similarly, on the other hand, you may feel like, okay, I was in an IIT, but I didn't really experience an IIT, all I did was just prepare for exams. So I would say, don't be swayed by peer pressure, take some time. Like I said, you have to set the fulcrum. What is your balance? And to get that fulcrum at the right place, you need some time. So it's okay to take it easy, maybe a little bit in the beginning, not necessary to dive full steam into something. Take some time, find your point where you're comfortable, and then push yourself a little bit extra. And then if you're comfortable, push yourself a little bit more, engage more. So that would be my advice. I personally, during my academics, I was heavily involved in extracurricular activities. I think it really helped me in the long run. So I'm a real proponent of that. But also remember not to miss out on the excellent and unique academic opportunities that IIT Gandhinagar gives.
Yeah, so it's all about learning what our stint is, what we would like to do, and exploring all of that at a slow pace, and then getting into what we are actually okay with and finding, as you said, the fulcrum of the balance. So yeah, I think that is all from my side. Is there anything else, any other advice which you would like to give to our juniors?
Yeah, just a little bit more on this peer pressure, competition, thinking from a closed mindset. I just want to share a few experiences. I taught a course a few years ago during a pandemic, which was called Learning How to Learn. And when I proposed this course, the students found the title odd. It was a 1-credit course, and they approached the course with a sense of contempt, because they're thinking that, what is this course? I mean, we already know how to learn. We have cleared such a prestigious exam. And then when they came in the course, actually after a while, they really got engaged, and we used to run overtime, and then I introduced special office hours to have discussions. And those office hours were timed for 1 hour, and often they would extend to 2.5 hours. So we had a lot of discussions at that point about these notions of competition, peer pressure. Why I'm bringing this up is because of mental health. Right? It's a major topic today. So first, let me ask a provocative question. Do you think that the academic load at IITs is more than, say, any other college, or say an NIT or a state college? In my opinion, not necessarily, because you think about it, almost the same number of credits. Sometimes their system is less flexible, right? In the university system, you are taught by a separate faculty, and the question paper is set by another faculty at another institution, right? So in principle, that could bring more stress. Our system has a lot of flexibility, right? When their students are facing challenges, they are given other opportunities, they are given makeup exams. We have things in place, we have a safety net essentially. But still, what I perceive is that our students are more stressed. So what could be the reason? I think the reason is setting very high expectations from the beginning itself. And those expectations, I think it's totally okay to set high expectations, but they're also heavily influenced by peer pressure. And a sense of fatigue, a sense of thinking very short term, right, and comparing yourself to others. So I want to mention this to all the students. It's my sincere message that things take time. Do not rush. Also talk to some alumni who are there in the field, essentially, who graduated from here, who have spent some time outside. Take their opinion. Ask them, like, so you got your dream job, so then why did you quit 2 years later? Ask these questions, right? So I'm trying to say is that do not sacrifice your mental health and your health for anything. Try to maintain this balance, and when needed, ask for help. That is also a great skill. When to ask for help, whom to ask for help. You cannot do everything alone. And when you ask for help, people really step up, right? So I would like to say we have bright minds coming in, and they have a lot of potential, and it's always a privilege to be a faculty member at such an institution. So, but at the same time, when we see raw potential and we don't see it getting capitalized, then it is also a bit upsetting as a faculty. So my sincere request to all the students would be, live your own life, don't compare yourself to others, make use of the opportunities, and you will miss some points like Roger Federer, and you may still come up at the top. So that would be my advice.
It was really good that you pointed this out about not comparing oneself with others, because if I talk about myself or any student that I have met, each and everyone has a different set of interests, has a different set of goals, and even if the goals are same, the paths which they undertake to reach that goal might also be different. So there is no point in comparing yourself or your journey with somebody else's journey, because the circumstances, the situations that might have arisen in the two cases might not be same. It is good to take inspiration from someone or take help from someone, as you pointed out, because if you ask for help, there are always a lot of opportunities on the campus where you can seek help. You can ask your seniors, you can get in contact with the professors, faculty members, or maybe the counseling service that we have here. There are a lot of ways you can you just need to approach and you will be taken out of whatever problem you are in. So yes, I think not comparing is the key, but it was a very wonderful session with you. The insights that you provided were really great. And yeah, we are really looking forward to hearing the feedbacks that the juniors have for World of Engineering course once again. So yeah, thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.